from becoming the youngest champion to being awarded as the greatest fighter to ever do it.
Jon Jones, you are the GOAT. Khabib called, his father said you are a gift from God.
Jon Jones est un подарок судьбы от Бога.
Since Jon Jones entered the UFC, he has dislocated shoulders, knocked out opponents and surprised every fan by beating the best of the best. With his dynamic and innovative skills, Jon Jones won 27 out of 28 matches. And the one that he lost was cancelled by disqualification.
Due to intentional elbows, there's been a disqualification of Johnny Bones Jones. Therefore, the winner is Matt Hamill.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
His unique talent made him the youngest champion in not only UFC history, but also the greatest martial artist of all time.
Who do you think is the greatest UFC fighter of all time?
Jon Jones.
However, as inspiring this story looks, this man is also one of the most controversial fighters in UFC history. At one moment, he was the biggest star for his fans, while on other occasions he grabbed a woman by her throat, got arrested in a hit-and-run case, and was charged with domestic violence right after his introduction to the UFC Hall of Fame.
I hate you. I hate you.
So what happened with the greatest champion of all time? Stick with us for a while as we take a deeper dive into one of MMA's most fascinating stories. Jon Jones was born in one of the most happening cities in the world, Rochester, New York. And you will be surprised that his father is a famous pastor in this area. Kind of strange, right? A pastor's son becoming the greatest UFC champion? In an interview, his father openly said, "I wanted him to preach. I tried to discourage him from being a fighter. I told him, you don't want it. You can do other things. Be a pastor." However, Jon Jones had other things in his mind. After becoming a standout wrestling champion at high school, the 19-year-old Jon Jones shifted his focus into MMA. And just after 2 months of training, Jon made his professional debut and destroyed his opponent with his dominant wrestling. After 12 weeks, he was able to set a record of 6 wins. And he got the call from the UFC for a short notice fight against Andre Guzmão. And Jon Jones, being Jon Jones, didn't hesitate and accepted the fight straight away. The match took place in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and at first everyone was under the misconception that Jon Jones would be beaten up badly like the rest of the newcomers. But to the surprise of everyone, he destroyed his opponent in spectacular fashion. But the story does not end here, because after a beatdown of Jake O'Brien, he quickly attracted the attention of UFC president Dana White. Right after the match, White came to Jones and challenged him to defeat former EFL light heavyweight champion Vladimir Matashenko. And guess what? In the very first round, Jones defeated him via TKO. Furthermore, it took him only 1 minute and 52 seconds to finish the former champion. So after beating Ryan Bader in his next fight, Jones was next in line for a title shot. And when Rashad Evans pulled out of the fight against Shogun Rua due to injury, Jones was the guy to step up, and it was time to write history. Finally, the fight everyone was waiting for began between Jones and Shogun. Now it should be noted that Jones was only 23 years old at that time. And when the fight began, Jon shocked everyone by opening the fight with a flying knee.
When you open up a fight, when you're the youngest ever guy fighting for the title, and you open up a fight with Shogun with a flying knee, that's a wild man.
And just after 3 rounds, Rua was so badly injured that he had to tap out because he couldn't take the beating anymore. And Jones, well, you guessed it, became the youngest ever UFC champion. After racking up 7 title defenses in a row and becoming the first martial artist to be sponsored by Nike, he was set to face Daniel Cormier on UFC 185. And after a massive build-up which included a brawl at the face-offs, and one of the most disturbing interviews I have ever seen.
Hey pussy, are you still there?
I wish they would let me next door so I could spit in your fucking face.
You know I would absolutely kill you if you ever did something like that.
You
right?
could never kill me.
Oh, I bet you I could.
Jones defeated the former Olympic wrestler in dominant fashion, and also being the first person to take down Daniel Cormier. And then the controversies started to kick in. It was revealed that he failed a drug test right before the fight against Cormier. More precisely, they found cocaine in his system. And just 3 months after his fight against Cormier, Jones was involved in a hit-and-run incident where he hit a pregnant woman with his big SUV and decided to not help the woman and rather run away.
I wonder if this is that fighter's car. John Jones?
After hearing the news, Dana especially traveled to New Mexico and stripped Jones of his UFC light heavyweight championship.
Effective immediately, Jones is stripped of his light heavyweight title and is suspended indefinitely.
After defeating OVP 1 year later, Jones again got stripped of his title because he failed a drug test prior to his rematch against DC. At his hearing, it was concluded that Jones didn't cheat intentionally and was suspended for just 1 year. And when it was time to return a second time, John Jones was set to fight then champion Daniel Cormier again. And he not only destroyed him in the press conferences,
I beat you after a weekend of cocaine.
in fact he knocked him out with a vicious head kick and left him crying inside the cage.
If you win both fights, there is no rivalry.
But just after 48 hours, John Jones was stripped of this title again.
John Jones tested positive for turinabol from a sample the day before your guys' fight.
And was suspended for 15 months. When it was time to return, he faced Alexander Gustafsson in a rematch and won the fight pretty dominant, finishing Gustafsson inside 3 rounds. Then he went on to fight Anthony Smith, beating him via unanimous decision. But after this fight, his performances inside the octagon got worse from time to time. In his fight against Thiago Santos, one judge thought that Thiago Santos has done enough to beat the champ, while on his fight against Dominic Reyes, the majority of the fans and media outlets scored the fight for the challenger. But to the surprise of everyone, John Jones got the decision victory. He justified his performances due to lack of motivation and vacated the belt soon after. But in his layoff, John Jones still couldn't figure out a way to balance himself. So in September 2021, a day after he was listed into the UFC Hall of Fame, Jones was arrested for severely injuring his fiancée.
Nerd. On my Hall of Fame night.
And now, after more than 3 years outside of the UFC, John makes his long anticipated comeback against the young phenom with the name of Cyril Gane. And when he's able to beat Gane, he truly deserves to be called the greatest martial artist of all time. So what are your views about this story? Is he the greatest of all time? Tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. And hey, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and press the like button if you like this video. Thank you so much for watching. See you all in the next one. Peace out.